Hey, everybody, and welcome to the For Female Founders podcast series, where we are helping women in business learn to thrive, not just survive. I am your host, Sarah Bundy, and today we have Lisa Maynard with us, who is the Vice President of Marketing with Awin Global. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Great to be here. Really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. I've been looking forward to chatting with you because you have a really fascinating story. You've become an executive at Awin Global, and you actually started in the company as an entry-level position. Awin has such an interesting program that really helps develop people and their talent. And today I think we're going to talk about how Awin actually nurtures that talent to shape the next generation of leaders in the space. So having you on here tell your story and then all the learnings is actually something that I've been really looking forward to. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you and how you started working with Awin Global?
Great. Yeah. So I'm really excited to talk about the Future Leaders Mentorship Program that we have at Awin. It's brilliant. So and I've been involved in the program for many years. So I'll chat about that. I can't wait to kind of dive into that. To start off, though, so I started at Awin, which was called Affiliate Window back in the day in 2009. And yes, I started as an entry-level position in what we had at the time called account development, which was basically just kind of nurturing very small entry-level businesses that were looking to grow an e-commerce store. So they were either new to affiliate marketing, or they were programs that didn't have a lot of partners on board, that we were trying to sort of get them into the channel and help nurture them. And very quickly within starting in the company, we decided to get rid of our external PR agency that we were using. And I, funnily enough, studied PR and marketing at university. So I sort of jumped at the opportunity to apply for an in-house role. And I got that role and worked in a very small communications team at the time. So this is towards the tail end of 2009. And then through many sort of mergers and acquisitions, growing in the US and growing across Europe in different regions, we grew that team and sort of took on full funnel marketing. And I sort of moved up in the ranks through Awin. I had a great mentor myself, and yeah, here I am 16 years later, VP of marketing across the group, looking after all of our regions.
I love it so much, and that it goes to showcase as well your commitment to growth. And I love hearing about Awin's commitment to developing their team. Tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, about Awin's mentorship program specifically. How did this come about? What is it?
Yep.
And why are you guys innovating and pioneering in the space of talent development?
Yeah, so it's a great program. So it was introduced by our People and Culture department. So we've rebranded Human Resources to People and Culture, and it's a really great team that had this idea that there are people in the business that want to move into leadership roles. They want to manage people. They want to grow their own careers, and they want to be able to do that in practical situations. So they want to be able to use the challenges that they're experiencing in their everyday sort of careers, and be able to have a community of other peers that they can then engage with, and they can have conversations with, and they can sort of challenge each other. But in doing so, they also wanted to have mentors within Awin that would also understand some of those challenges from experiences that they would have had. So it started out as it's mostly a virtual program. So there's 9 different modules that are all around kind of personal development, change management, growth, challenging, difficult conversations, and those sorts of things. So each of the mentees do a virtual session, and then at the end of that virtual session, they have an hour session with a mentor. Well, they all sort of bounce ideas around on what they learned in the session, asking certain questions that they might have, again, practical examples of things that they might want some tips or advice on from what they learned, and also just putting it into practical situations, really.
In your case, I know that you are a mentor for other people. Did you get to go through the program as a mentee as well? And what was that like?
I didn't actually. So I didn't actually do the program as a mentee, which was really interesting because I was just asked to join it a few years ago as a mentor, and it was great. I jumped at the opportunity to do that. So I've done different kind of leadership coaching, had my own exec coach, and had mentors along the way, but in a more unofficial, I should say, capacity. So I've never actually been through the program as such, but we do get access to all of the modules that the mentees have been through. So we get a feel for what they're learning in the virtual environment, so that we can make sure that we can support them in the best possible way.
I love that you guys have this program so much, and it's wonderful that you have access to so many different modules. And the things that you talked about, you said there's 9 different modules about leadership and conflict resolution. And what were they? Tell me a little bit more about each one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it's so the main thing is kind of starting with what are their personal motivations for leadership. So getting people to really understand what is it about leadership that excites you, and what kind of leader do you want to be, and what are your different learning styles. So there's a module that kind of starts around that, and then it moves into how to make an impact as a leader. So how do you influence others? What's your style? And I think a lot of this is really around people getting a feel for their own way of leadership, because you can read every leadership book on, under the sun, which I've read a lot of, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on, because I am actually a big advocate of reading and listening to podcasts and signing up to newsletters for those that you really feel have an affinity towards. But I think leadership style is very unique to you, and you want to be as authentic as possible. And I think this is kind of teaching them about how important authenticity is, and that you don't have to lead the way that your leaders have led, or you don't have to lead in a way that just because you read it in a book. So this idea of making an impact on others, and how do you influence in a way that's really authentic to you, that moves on then from that into how to handle difficult conversations. And that can be a range of any sort of difficult conversations, whether you're dealing with difficult teammates, whether you're dealing with difficult customers, whether you're dealing with a difficult leader yourself. So just kind of how to handle difficult conversations, how to handle conflict resolution in those sort of situations. Then it goes into having a presence. So how do you make sure that your voice is being heard? How do you make sure that you have a seat at the table? How do you make sure that you're seeking out opportunities to lead? How to influence and persuade. Best ways of delivering feedback is the next module, which is a really, really big one, because we have a really big feedback culture. And we're really big in making sure that not just through annual reviews, but in weekly or biweekly one-to-ones, depending on how you have your team set up, that you're giving feedback in a really constructive and open and honest way. And I think it's really crucial that that is carried through, and people learning the best way of doing that, and again making it as practical as possible. There's a new module that we sort of added in the post-COVID world, which is all around hybrid working and understanding how to lead in a hybrid environment, which I think is super interesting, because times have certainly changed since 2020, the pandemic, obviously, with lots of people working in a remote culture, which we still do. So we don't have any set days that people have to be in the office. We obviously encourage people to come in and have that camaraderie and have that office culture, but it's not mandatory. And so many people globally moved away from their local offices during the pandemic. So being able to lead in a hybrid environment is really key. So we have a whole module that's all around that. Then it moves into the change management piece, behavior management, all of those sorts of things, which is a big one, obviously, for us, especially for us at Awin, where we've had a lot of mergers, we've had a lot of acquisitions, we've rebranded. So there's a lot of change management that's really important, that people feel that they can lead and have those discussions. And then the final one we sort of finish, which is all around leadership values and competencies. And it's we created like Awin values last year that we launched, but the idea is around how do you make sure that your own personal values are aligned with the business values, and what are the competencies that you need to be able to achieve individually to progress, but also how do you help your team progress through the combination of personal goals and professional goals.
With Awin's marketing technology platform, you can easily discover the best partners who connect you with huge audiences of new customers. Understand how your partnerships are performing with intuitive reporting, and only pay for the results you need. Start today and grow your own way with Awin. I think it's an amazing program. I personally would actually love to go through it. I'll put my hand up and be like, if you need an outside of Awin person to go through this, I will happily go through this program. It sounds wonderful and amazing. One of the things that you said, which I find, there's a lot of things there that I would love to break down further, but one of the things that I find really interesting that you said is acknowledging the fact that there are so many different types of leaders in the space. And, one of the things that people see is a lot of extroverted leaders, people who are, really shiny and have a voice and have that presence, right? But there's the quiet leaders too. There's
Yes,
the introverts.
absolutely.
How does your mentorship program help that type of leader?
So within the mentor, so I can't speak to exactly how the program itself helps with that, but it was actually a point that I love, because a few of the mentees that I've had, specifically, that's where one of the concerns or challenges that they've come with is, I'm really good at delegating. I'm good at doing my own bit of work, but when it comes to being in a room and presenting to senior leadership, I get really nervous, or I don't feel the confidence that I should feel. So one of the things that I like to do, and in fact, I make it sort of a bit of a fun with it, is I love to role play. So I'm like, let's play this out. And I always start with, what's the worst that could happen, right? You're nervous. Okay, everybody gets nervous. I get nervous when I'm presenting all the time, and I've done it for many, many years. What's the worst that can happen? You sort of think about it like, as a kid, like you're on the playground and people are going to laugh and point at you. That's just not going to happen, right? So I think a lot of it is the fear in our own minds about, oh, I don't want to embarrass myself, or I don't want to say something stupid, or I don't want people to talk behind my back. 9 times out of 10, that's all in our heads, right? And I think that's what this program is all about. It's one about building the confidence, but a lot of it is just practice. So I like to sit and role play it. So, I I have a bit of fun with it. So I'll be in the meeting and I'm like, right, pretend I'm, whether it's your direct line manager or I'm the CEO, and come on, talk to me, show me what you would do. And I'll ask poking questions. And 9 times out of 10, they do an absolutely stellar job with it. And I think role play is a really fun way of bringing it to life. And I did a lot of that in some of the leadership coaching that I did. And one thing I found really interesting with it was they had you approach it like as if it were me, you're in the situation and you're sharing your experience. And then what they do is they flip the switch and they say, now I'm going to show you how you came across to me, and they role play it back to you playing Lisa, for example. And it was fascinating to see how other people perceive you. And I think that's a lot of something we try to really instill within the program, is that get out of your own head, because a lot of the times you're catastrophizing a lot of what's happening, and it's actually not as bad as you think. And actually people, you're in the role that you're in, and we're putting you through this program because we see you as talented, and we see that there's potential for you to grow personally and professionally, and we want to nurture that. So I think that's a big point of this program, and something that we really try to encourage.
A great big thank you to our sponsors, PartnerStack. PartnerStack's ecosystem connects you to the world's largest B2B network for you to earn, connect, and grow. I love that so much. And I love that you make yourself available to role play with people. And you know what, to your point, and anyone else listening, if you get nervous presenting, I've keynoted every major show in the affiliate marketing industry, and I still get nervous in front
Absolutely.
of crowds, in front of on stage. And that's okay. That's normal. That means you're excited. It means you're alive.
Exactly. I totally agree. I don't know anybody that doesn't get nervous presenting especially on stage anymore. So it's a very natural part of it.
Yeah. So I think having the ability to role play with people, to be aware of how you're coming across to other people, putting yourselves in their shoes and doing that reversal is great. There's also a little strategy that you can use called mirroring, which is actually presenting to, not mirroring with another person, but mirroring with yourself. Present to yourself in the mirror. And you'll be able to see what you look like and how you sound. You can record yourself and listen back. And sort of tweak it that way. What are some of the other tricks and tactics that you use in helping people sort of develop that leadership? One you just said is role playing, helping them build their confidence. You've got the mentorship program that Awin goes that puts people through. You've got the modules that all sound really amazing. What are some strategies that you personally use to help develop your team?
I think a lot of it comes down to being able to really build trust and rapport with people. And I think a lot of it comes down to giving people the autonomy and the ownership to really be able to lead in the way that they want, and not dictate to them, this is how you should do it, and this is how you should approach certain things. So I think a lot of it is around self-reflection, encouraging self-reflection, encouraging critical thinking, and encouraging problem solving on their own as much as possible. I'm very happy to give advice, but my advice is just going to be through my own lens, right? My own experience. And I'm very happy to share those stories. And that's what a lot of the mentorship program is, because a lot of it, they do want to pick my brain. They do want to pick the other mentors' brains, because we've been in the industry a long time. And we've grown our careers, whether it's in Awin or whether it's in other businesses. But I think a lot of it is, I can solve the problem for you, or I can be more of a thinking partner. And that's how I like to think of it. And I remember when I had coaching, my coach used to say to me, I'm here to help you think better. And that's how I approach it, is very much that, I'm happy to bounce ideas off of you, but I can't solve your problems for you. And I think it's really important to sort of push people outside of that comfort zone of just being able to, we're in an age where you can just Google the answers to most things. But a lot of times, some of the challenges that we face, again, whether it's within your own teams, whether it's, feeling like you're hitting a ceiling, or feeling like you're not getting what you want, whether it's your own feedback or whether it's your own personal growth, there's tactics that you can kind of put in place to help with that. But a lot of times I think we have such a Google culture of I'll find the answer for that, when really a lot of it is just trust your gut, trust your instincts, and try new things. You're inevitably going to fail, and that's okay, and that's how you learn. And I think that's a big part of it. A big part of it for me is kind of encouraging that as much as possible, and not just thinking about the symptom of the problem, but actually how, why, what's the root cause of some of this stuff, and how can I be a really strong leader to help support getting to the right resolution.
I think it's so important that you help raise the bar for people who are trying to grow and trying to get to that next level. And it sounds like you and the other mentors and the program itself is really putting that challenge forward to people who want to get into that growth mindset,
Yeah.
which I love so much. Again, I'll put my hand up if you ever need someone to go through the program. I want to do it.
You should be the mentor on it, Sarah. You would be a great mentor on it. I wish we actually had external mentors that we could have on the program. We couldn't afford it, but that would be amazing.
New idea for 2025.
Yeah.
It's the challenge part of it is needed. People can't grow when they're complacent, right? So
Exactly.
having the ability to support people as they're trying to level up is awesome. There's being challenged, and then there is being stuck in challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you help people who are stuck when they hit a challenge and they don't know how to overcome it? And yes, you say, look, you need the autonomy to find it in yourself, follow your gut. What if they're stuck? What do we do when they can't unstick themselves?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is it comes down to asking more questions than answering questions for them. So I'll pick apart with asking and asking and asking. And a lot of it is just getting them to talk through, again, going back to this idea of what's the symptom versus the root cause. So again, just using an example of, they might say, I've got a really tricky person on my team. They're not pulling their weight. They're really great as an independent operator, but they're not a good collaborator. They're not a good team player. I can't get them to do anything outside of their very narrow view. Just one example. And sometimes it's like, well, I want to say to them that they need to pull up their socks and they need to do more of this and that they're not a team player. And so I'll go in and say to them things, well, have we thought about what's the root cause of that? Is there something going on for them personally? Are they not feeling adequately challenged? Are they not enjoying the work? Are they feeling like they're doing too much? Like, what, really trying to ask questions to get to the root cause of whatever the challenge is that they're in. And very often, the more questions you ask, it's like peeling an onion. The more layers you're gonna be able to pull back for them to look at something through a different lens. And a lot of times it's like, oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. Or, what, that brings up another good point that I hadn't thought about over here. So I think the best thing that I can do with that, because again, a lot of these situations are they might be situations I've experienced before, but a lot of them are new for me. And I'm like, oh, this is fun for me. It's a challenge for me to help support you through something I've not experienced myself. And the only way that you can do that is by learning, right? By asking the tough questions and really trying to get to the root of the cause of what might be causing that problem or that challenge, rather than, the symptom is that other people are picking up the work, other people are having to work harder, other team members are complaining to you because someone else isn't doing a good job. But rather than focusing on that, is to focus on, why is this actually happening, and what can be done to get to the other side of it.
So far we've talked a little bit about how you as an organization develop people, right? So you've got these people who want to go into a growth mindset. You've got these wonderfully talented people who want to be leaders in the space. And the time and effort that you put in as a mentor, as well as the modules that HR and your talent team have put together, are developing the individuals themselves. Mm-hmm. But let's talk a little bit more about how that actually helps Awin as a global organization. What are the benefits of the mentor-mentee relationship, not only to the individual, but also as the organization as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. And I think what excites me the most about the program in relation to that is this idea of, creating a much more positive culture around succession planning and making sure that we have like a really diverse pipeline of future managers who feel prepared to take on leadership roles and leadership challenges. And I think that's something that's such an archaic view. If you think about this idea of succession planning, right? Like you would never want to hire someone that was better than you because you'd have this fear of, oh, if they're better than me, then it means that I might be out of a job. Whereas I think we're trying to shift the mindset of that into it shows that I hire well. It shows that I train well. It shows that I mentor well. It shows that I myself am actually a really great leader if I bring someone in below me who is doing a better job than me and also that I can learn from. And I think that this is such an amazing shift in mindset and a culture shift that we're really trying to instill. And I think the idea is, you have to sort of look at it that everyone is replaceable, right? We're not curing cancer here. We're not saving the world here as much as, it is marketing as much as I love it. And I think it's really important that we remember that nurturing that next the future leaders that are going to not even necessarily replace us, but even just again be thinking partners with us, that you're going to work alongside rather than it being this hierarchy structure. And I think that's something that's really powerful is how do I help you grow and develop and learn so that you feel that your career is progressing and the business feels like we constantly are going to have a really strong set of managers, a really strong set of leaders, a really strong talent pool who are engaged, who are, really wanting to support the business vision, the business goals. And this could be in any industry. It just so happens it works great with affiliate marketing, works great with Awin, but I really believe that that kind of mindset and that cultural shift is something that every business should take on board because it makes people feel valued, makes them feel even more of a level of engagement. We've seen churn levels reduce because of it, because people feel supported. They feel when you feel supported and you feel valued, you feel like you're learning and you feel like there's growth opportunities, then why would you leave?
And one of the main reasons why people join companies in the first place, it's actually a wonderful talent acquisition strategy as well. And when
Yeah,
you want to have the best people in the room and the brightest minds in the room and the most innovators and the most collaborative people who want to work as a team and be successful together, this is a great way
yeah,
to be able to do it. And for those of us who are listening right now, because we have a lot of female founders, we have a lot of small businesses, we have people who have small teams that are looking to scale right now. One thing I just want to share is that when all inclusive marketing was really small and I was a new CEO, new founder, I thought I had to have all the answers. I thought I had to be the smartest person in the room. And then I realized that actually that's ridiculous because I am my own glass ceiling. So shifting my own mindset as a leader to say, okay, where can I bring in people who want to be able to elevate all of us together, who want to push me and challenge me as a leader, who can bring in perspective that I don't have, an experience that I don't have. I had to let my ego go. And that's
yeah,
actually when it really exploded and took off, was
yeah.
when I was like, okay, I'm not going to be the end all be all in this. And I actually need people who are brighter and smarter and younger and more talented and all these things that I can't bring to the table by myself. And once that happened, that's when we really took off. So I
Yeah.
encourage anybody who's listening to this who might need to hear it's okay to not have all the answers. And yes, go find the talent and then nurture them, mentor them, lift them up. That's how you will be successful. I kind of give you that thought as well to ponder on today.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And it's actually, look, I've been in the company for 16 years. It's a long time. It's a huge portion of my career in the same company. And so, a lot of views on that could be that it's a very narrow view because I haven't had as much experience externally as other people. And that's why my entire management team are people that I've pulled in from other businesses and they're fantastic. And they are really, it's like a well-oiled machine now. They're the ones that come in with really bright, brilliant ideas that I never would have thought of. So I 100% echo that.
I love this so much. So tell us, Lisa, what's some of the advice that you're going to give to aspiring leaders, especially women who are trying to
Yeah.
get to those leadership roles, whether it's they're new in the space or maybe they're in a male dominated industry right now. They don't really know how to get to that next level. What words of advice do you have for them?
So it's a good question. I mean, one of the very first books that I ever read when I was on my initial kind of leadership journey was Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In book, right? And I mentioned this a little bit before, but it's such a basic concept. But this idea of lean in is around, give yourself a seat at the table, because no one's going to be standing there with an open door going, oh, hey, Lisa, do you want to come and sit in this really important meeting that you might know nothing about? You have to ask for those opportunities. You have to seek out opportunities to be seen, to present, to be in the room, and then you have to take those opportunities and really run with them. And I think that's something that, it's scary. Of course, it's scary, but again, if you get out of your own head and you just trust the fact that 99% of the time you're going to have something really interesting to say, and 99% of the time people want to hear it, and they want, like you were saying earlier, they want to learn from that too. So I think the best advice is seek out those opportunities, seek out the things that scare the life out of you, right? The challenges that you're like, ooh, that's a really big project, I don't know if I can do it, but you know what, the worst that will happen is I'll learn a lot, even if I fail. So seek out all the opportunities that you can and ask for that seat. Ask for that promotion, ask for that pay rise, ask to take on more responsibility. And I think that was something that was advice that was given to me. I read a lot about that. And it was one of the main things that I did. When we were first starting out, we had acquired Buyout in the US. And it was, I'd only just run in the UK. I hadn't done any work in any other market. And I was like, and I put my hand up and was like, can I run US marketing as well? And they were like, oh, do you have any experience? I was like, no, but I'll learn. And I think everyone in the room was like, maybe. And then it took off, and you kind of grow from there. And I failed a lot, but I learned a lot. And then I built a really great team. And, all the learnings from that, we've now pulled into other regions. And so it's one of those things that, it's scary, but take the big leap of the things that would be really scary. And I would say also, I read a lot of books. Brené Brown is a brilliant one. Probably my favorite book of all time is Dare to Lead. She's done. I think she's fantastic. I want to I'm going to caveat the reading with what I said earlier, though, is that, a book is only going to tell you so much. You have to find your own style, your own authenticity within it. But I think, you're going to learn a lot of really cool tips and tricks. And if nothing else, it's going to give you the confidence to be like, I can do this.
I think that's great. And I do a lot of reading too, like you. Being able to have a baseline to be dangerous enough to walk into a room and say, I know a little bit about what you're talking about. I might not know everything. I'm not an expert in everything, but let me learn. You have to do some of the legwork too. Here's an example.
Exactly.
Here's an example. So as a leader, I serve on certain boards, and I needed to go learn about corporate governance. I needed to learn about legal matters. I needed to learn more advanced financial acumen and literacy. I wouldn't have had a seat at those tables if I hadn't actually done the work myself to go at least get a baseline so I could have the conversation, so I could ask the right questions, so that I could learn, so that I could develop those skills. And so what I'm saying at this is people are not always going to spoon feed you. You got to take the initiative to go find the things that you don't know about that people value to be able to get that seat at the table in the first place. And reading is a great way to do that. Listening to podcasts is a great way to do that. Finding mentors and mentees, joining mastermind groups, joining forums that have areas of discussion that will help you think more critically and problem solve more critically in the areas that you're trying to strengthen. Those are all strategies you can use to further your leadership skills, so that when you do get into a mentee mentorship program, or you do get to work for a really amazing company like Awin, you know what questions to ask. You have some kind of a baseline to say, I've done this work. Here's my baseline. Please teach me more. And I think that's how 100%. A lot of women can progress as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Okay, so let's talk. We're out of time, but I've got two more really quick questions for you. Empowerment. What do you want to leave as a last thought today for the people who are listening? They want to be empowered. They want to be leaders. They are maybe discouraged. They're maybe very excited. What are some next steps for them?
I would say, I think the two main things that are, I think, the most important in any, whether it's leadership role or whether it's just trying to grow within your own organization or thinking even beyond, is having empathy and building trust. I think are the two. I mean, it's funny because I was thinking about this in terms of the leadership program, but I was also thinking of it's the same in any relationship, right? Any friendship, any, romantic relationship, familial relationship, all, having empathy, really trying to understand other people's perspectives, really taking time to listen to what other people are saying, finding common ground, understanding where they're coming from, knowing there's always two sides to every story, really seeking out answers and building trust. I think if people that report to you don't trust that you have their back, then you're never going to have the right relationship. They're never going to trust you as a leader, and you're never going to feel that you're getting the best out of them. So for me, I think those two things are critical in any relationship, but especially when it's coming to mentorship and leadership. And I think it's really important to really push for that. And the best way to do that is going back to some of the pillars that we talked about as part of the program is, being able to give feedback, being able to receive feedback, having open communication. And I think all of those things combined will really help you to be able to build those relationships and to feel that you're able to grow personally and professionally.
I think that's great. Empathy and trust. And for those of you guys who are listening and you need some kind of a tool to help you develop those things, I actually found a new app called Skillsta, Skillsta, Skillsta. And it has a 8-module section that actually teaches you things about empathy, about communication, about conflict resolution. So it's free. You can go through the app, and maybe gives you that baseline so that you can develop your empathy and trust skills as well as a leader and an aspiring leader. So, Lisa,
I'll have to check that out.
Yes, it's a good one. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for the contributions that you make, not only to your team, but to our industry. I love seeing women mentor the next generation of future leaders. And I love that Awin is being so progressive about what they do to help their teams and their talent to progress as well. So thank you for that. If anybody wants to contact you or reach out to you, Lisa, what's the best way to contact you?
I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the easiest and best way to reach out to me. Lisa Maynard, LinkedIn.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much
Thanks
for being
so
here.
much for having me, Sarah. I really love this conversation.
Always.
Talk to you soon.
Well, thanks,
bye.
Lisa. All right. Thanks for listening to the 4 Female Founders podcast series. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe, like, or comment below so we can continue to support women in business by helping them thrive, not just survive. We'll see you on the next show.